I want to put it out there that it's normal to go through these waves of weirdness and maybe feeling down, and then sometimes maybe feeling motivated, and then sometimes feeling like unstoppable, right? Like there's all these different ways that we get into these flows of life and the friction of life. All right, my friends, what is going on? Welcome back to the Morning Takeaway with myself on the tube of the U. It's been a minute. I haven't really been getting my podcast out, but I made a story the other day that I said I was going to get 3 YouTube videos out a week. So we're going to kind of roll with the schedule where, and this week might not be the beginning of the week where or the process where I get the first workout video out, but we're going to start going to podcast every week, a workout video every week, so like a follow-along workout, ab workout, 10-minute abs, whatever it might be, and then a vlog style. So we'll have that coming to you on Sunday, vlog style. Got a couple different things already filmed, so I'm excited to get that out to you. Just wanted to let you know a little update, kind of things that I've been putting together, writing out, and getting on the calendar. So, and before you go and watch all of those, if you don't mind, like, comment, and subscribe. It helps me out more than you know. And with that said, as we get into today's takeaway, which is definitely a story and kind of relatable to what I guess we all kind of go through. Before we get into that, I would really appreciate it. I don't know, I'm just stumbling over my words over here, but if there is something that I say today that you do take away, whether it's in the mental standpoint, whatever. If there's something that resonates with you, share it with a friend, share it with a family member, somebody that you care about, whatever it might be. I've always said, if somebody can get on a microphone and a camera and change my life, then I would hope that something I can say can have the slightest impact on somebody else's life, right? So with that said, I want to get into kind of a story first before we get into talking about the seasons of life. And I'll kind of I have my phone right here, Jim Rohn. He's an awesome person. If you haven't ever heard him, he's one of the greatest motivational speakers, just kind of like teachers and mentors on life. And if you haven't heard of him, look him up, Jim Rohn, R-O-H-N. But I want to start with a story. So basically, it's not really a story, just kind of how I've been feeling. And it happens every time. But as you know, I travel a lot. I am, kind of on the road quite a bit. And with traveling comes hard decisions in the sense that your routines are going to get messed up, right? So I'm very adamant about staying as close as I can to my routines. And there's definitely parts of my life that I could probably get better at with, like, let's use the example of alcohol, right? So this past weekend I was in Tahoe, went to the Chainsmokers concert, had probably a little bit too much tequila, and was definitely feeling it the next day. And that hinders me so much from a psychological and physical standpoint, because I know that what I value most and hold close to my high standard of myself and my disciplines, that I want to do everything I can each and every single day to feel as great as I possibly can without any brain fog. And alcohol is the number one contributor to myself, and I'm sure many of you can relate to that as well. It knocks me out for days on end. I'm 3 days afterwards, and I'm still kind of feeling a little foggy, but I know what I need to do, right, to get through it. And these are kind of mini seasons, but I think they all compile because we go through these seasons. Like right now, I've been traveling a lot and probably drinking more than I usually do. And when I say drinking more, it's probably, I don't know, once or twice every other weekend. It's not that much, and I'm not shaming you if you do drink every weekend or every day, but we could talk about that at a later date. As far as mental health and brain fog and inflammation and gut health and yada yada yada. But where I'm going with this is the fact that there are seasons of life, right? Like right now I'm in this season of, maybe it's a fall, maybe it's a winter, and I'm gonna walk through each of his kind of like keys to life with the seasons, and kind of break it down on how I see those points. But I want to put it out there that it's normal to go through these waves of weirdness and maybe feeling down, and then sometimes maybe feeling motivated, and then sometimes feeling like unstoppable, right? Like there's all these different ways that we get into these flows of life and the friction of life. So if you think about the seasons of life and just they're like the changing seasons in weather, right? They're always going to happen. The seasons always come one after another. There's days come after nights. Days come after nights. That's how it works, right? And it's inevitable. It's always going to happen. So if you think about these seasons each individually as they come, and the way he puts these in these 4 points, it's a little bit easier to understand and break down like where you're at in life. And it's fun for me. It's not, I don't know if it's fun, but it's good to know and to be able to resonate with like, hey, this might be the season that I'm in, and this is how I know I need to fix it, or I know I need to change it, and this is what I need to do. Maybe take a look in the mirror and create a plan and take action on that plan, right? So let's get into the first one, winters. And there's always going to be winters. We can look at these as the kind of the downfalls, because we'll get into fall, but winters are something where you feel kind of at your low point, and it's cold, right? It's got that eerie feeling, right? And he says in his first point, he says, learn how to handle the winters. They come right after falls. And we'll circle back to falls, but winters, there's all kinds of them, right? There's things that are always constantly pulling us down. The winters, it's kind of the depression season in a way. It can kind of get a little weird in, with family dynamics, or the cold weather brings you wanting to be inside and cooped up and not as active, and releasing those, the norepinephrine and adrenaline and all these hormones that help us feel good, right? Not them getting a little nerdy on you, but the winters, they're always going to be there. So learn how to handle the winters is the first point, right? And if you can learn how to handle those winters and say, hey, this is a winter season. I'm in the winter right now, but I know what I need to do to get out. The first step in all of that is recognizing, hey, I'm in the winter. And if you can do that, that self-awareness, you're already light years ahead. That is so important, just to recognize and say, hey, I feel like crap. And that self-awareness, that recognition is the first step in a lot of processes, right? Whether it's, there's a whole list of things. Where I was getting at with that is like whether you're in rehab and drug use, and like you realize there's a problem, and now you know what you need to do to fix it, right? So that said, that's point number one. Number two, what comes after winters is the spring. So learn how to take advantage of the spring. So with every downfall, the winter, when you're feeling down, you're going to be able to find a way to get out of that, right? You'll start to create some momentum. You'll find something eventually where you say, hey, I'm kind of cooking something, right? And once you're to that point, you have to get to a point where you can say, hey, let's take this momentum and take advantage of it. Let's build on this. Let's have a season of growth in the spring. So if you take that word literally, when I think of the spring, I'm thinking of like springing forward, right? So in that same sense, what can we do to create that momentum and roll with it and spring forward and try to really create what we want to create, right? Like I said, with all those, like the bad times and the negativity that you might go through, there's always going to be something at the end, right? That light at the end of the tunnel. There's going to be something that you look forward to and work towards, right? So that's the spring. It's the spring of positivity. The flowers are blooming, right? Like that is a great way to look at life. The season of spring, you're blooming, you're blossoming, you're creating. So that's number two. Number three is learn how to protect your crops. So now we're in the summer, right? And our crops are built. They have been sprung through the spring season, right? And how do you protect those, right? Like how are we going to protect them from the beaming sun in the summer? How are we going to, and this is just how I interpret it, right? As the summer and the heat, and maybe you have built something so great, and how do you protect that in the sense of, hey, maybe I'm not as growing as much as I was just in this spring, but I'm still doing my daily disciplines. I'm doing the little things right, attention to detail, and I'm building on that for an extended period of time through that summer season, right? And I think that's a really great way to look at it in the sense that Jim Rohn puts it in protecting your crops. And It is, because you need to protect what you've built and and how you're feeling and your self-confidence and whatever those great feelings are that you've built through the spring. So I think that's a pretty self-explanatory one. Protect your crops. Number 4, getting into fall, I said we'd circle back, right? So learn how to reap in the fall without complaint. So the way Jim Rohn puts this is basically that, hey, it's inevitable. You're going to have falls. And that's the same way. I don't know if you've ever seen the visual of 2 marbles going down next to each other. One's going down a hill and one's going straight down a hill, or like down a few hills, kind of like a roller coaster, up and down. If you're watching me on YouTube, you can see this. But then the other one is going straight down, just at a downward slant, kind of linear. And it shows dropping the marble at the same time, but the one with the ups and the downs gets to the end faster. And the way Jim Rohn puts it, like I was saying, is taking responsibility for yourself without complaint. And I think that's such a huge, important point in the fall. If you might be in this season of fall, there's going to be falls. It's inevitable. And what tends to follow that? The winters. And you might feel like you're falling, but how do you take that and say, hey, like maybe put a stop in it, right? And okay, yes, we might get into the winter, and I don't think it's healthy to always think like expect the winters. Like you never know when they're going to come, but there's going to be stuff that happens. It's life. Life happens to you. It happens to us. It happens to me. And there's always going to be something unexpected. There's a multitude of things that can happen, whether something comes up with your health, maybe it's a family member, an unexpected death. You never know. And I think that's something that we can all attest to, right? But if it's within your control, you're able to take responsibility for it. And I think that's something super important that Jim Rohn says, and I really resonate with that. So I just wanted to kind of put these 4 things out there and hope that maybe what I take away from those 4 points might be something that you can take away and maybe see life in a different perspective, right? Maybe you see that you're in one of these ruts or you're in one of these high points, and you kind of have to keep yourself humble in those high points, right? Like you might fall, and you have to learn how to protect those crops. You have to learn how to keep taking advantage of the spring and springing forward and take responsibility for yourself, right? And in our actions, and know that the unexpected is a possibility, right? So I just wanted to put that out there. And if you took something away, please help me out. It helps the algorithm. It helps my channel. I'm really trying to grow this thing and reach as many people as possible, because if I can impact one person with one little thing I say, I'm fulfilled, and I truly feel like I'm doing my job. So with that said, before we end, I want to end with the random question generator right here. So I'm going to click a generate a random question. What is something you thought would be a great idea but was terrible when you actually did it? Well, the first thing I'm thinking of is that 40-mile walk, but it wasn't terrible. It was physically terrible, but I enjoy that kind of stuff, and hurting physically and mentally and just exhausting myself. But aside from that, it's kind of a funny story. I don't know if I've said this before, but I thought it would be hilarious to pee in an out-of-order stall one time in first grade, and did that and ended up in the principal's office. So that wasn't a great idea. Ended up pretty terrible. And just a little first grade history for you on this awesome day. So anyways, that's just a little something to end the podcast. Like I said, I hope you enjoyed it. Hope you take something away. And if you did, help me out, share it. And I'll see you soon. I'm looking forward to getting these videos out here more consistently 3 times a week. Hoping to really, really get that going, and the support that you guys show me, I'm forever grateful for. So with that said, I hope you have an awesome freaking day, and don't forget to smile.